Hey, yo, it's me, the bad guy. to On this special tribute edition of LilBigMan Gaming, bringing you the review for Monday Night Raw. Rest in peace, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, one of the greatest to ever be a heel, and it was definitely felt throughout the episode of Monday Night Raw. Um, Man, what a sad time. I haven't felt this bad about wrestler that maybe since Eddie Guerrero. But they start off with I think they did like a little tribute thing, like you know how they usually do. They started off with, the picture of Razor Ramon. Then they transitioned over to the preview from last week about him challenging Kevin Owens challenging Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then that will be the start of the promo, the first promo of the night, which started off the show, which was Kevin Owens promo. He basically came out and was basically is stated that Steve Austin was accepting his challenge or accepting his challenge invitation to WrestleMania for the KO show, and then he just went on and ranted about how he's gonna destroy and beat up Stone Cold Steve. So I don't know what they're doing. So he's saying he's inviting him onto the Kevin Owens show. That's going to be at WrestleMania, but it's not a match. But they're going to be fighting. So this is like an unsanctioned match. Fine. I just rather for them to have a match instead of the Kevin Owens show. But whatever. This will play a deeper role until later on tonight. But I'm gonna get to that in a minute. The first match of the night was Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, but wasn't for the United States Championship. It was just a regular match. Because I didn't quite understand it, or why would they have a match? It was a one. Usually they would have put them in like a tag match, so it wouldn't be directly or 1-on-1, because they 1-on-1 is supposed to be at WrestleMania, but they were anyway. I get off track. Besides the weirdness of them having a 1-on-1 match, I guess it was supposed to be because of what's been going on between them in the last couple of weeks. But this was a fun little match. I think it wasn't bad. It was just a story-wise, it was kind of weird, but the match was good in itself, and Damian Priest would get the win thanks to some distraction from Austin Theory, which I don't understand what they're doing with Austin Theory. Why is he interfering? Why is he at ringside interfering in the Finn Balor match? He's basically feuding with both Finn Balor and Pat McAfee. Like, pick a lane, man. Pick a lane. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. But yeah, thanks to Austin Theory, Damian Priest would get the victory here. So then we will move on to a match that could have been good had they booked it right. So now we have the second match, which is Omos versus Commander Aziz. And I was looking forward to this because I was hoping that they would book it as two big men, powerhouse big men fighting each other, and they still made it like a squash match. I'm like, but that don't work in this context, because the Commander Aziz is supposed to be like Omos. But excuse me for thinking otherwise. But apparently he's not. He did have some offense. I guess you could say he had more offense than anybody who's ever went up against Omos. But nonetheless, he had offense, and but Omos would have more offense and dominate Commander Aziz, which he shouldn't have, but he did, and Omos would get the victory yet again. Um, we uh, we did have a backstage moment with Seth Rollins, and he was basically distraught. And then Kevin Owens tried to cheer him up and said they could put their mind there to come up with a plan to get Seth Rollins on the show. And Kevin Owens reminded Seth Rollins that he's the architect. No, he's the visionary, the architect, all that type of stuff. And Seth Rollins he snapped out of his little spell and he had a plan. Um, this would lead into Liv Morgan, the third match, which is Liv Morgan versus Queen Zelina. I guess the overall story here is that I guess it's dissension between Carmella and Queen Zelina, because there was a backstage promo with Queen Zelina telling her that, hey, if you don't focus and focus on our tag team championships, there's gonna be consequences. Get your stuff together or else. And she's like, or else what? And whatever. But Liv Morgan, and this match was an okay match, but the biggest story, like I said, was the further dissension between Carmella and Queen Zelina, and but I think she was trying to help. She tried to interfere in the match, but I guess it backfired, and she went over there. She went over and hid with Corey Graves, and because Rhea Ripley was chasing her, and she tried to. I guess he tried. I guess Zelina wanted her to continue to help her, but I guess her sitting there with Corey caused her to lose against Liv Morgan, which it seems like more likely there's going to be a future match between Carmella and Queen Zelina. But Liv Morgan winning this match and Rhea Ripley celebrating the win would be short-lived because Seth Rollins would come out. And Seth Rollins would basically come out and cut a promo and invited Kevin Owens down and revealed that his plan that he came up with that was so ingenious was that he was going to have a talk show at WrestleMania, and his guest was going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, what? So then him and Kevin Owens went back and forth. Then he said, you know what, you're right. There can't be two talk shows at WrestleMania. There only could be one talk show. So he said, how about I face you in the match, and the winner replaces the loser at or the winner goes on to have the talk show at WrestleMania to face Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so they got your argument. Kevin Owens said you can't do this because this is mine. No, I'm not taking the match. But Sonya Deville would weirdly come out and just make the match because she said the match was good. Now it was their main event match. It was going to be them two. For them two to see who's going to be at WrestleMania to host fight Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then I think it was a backstage promo with Kevin Owens just yelling at Sonya Deville. The next match would be Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus the Hurt Business. Logan and Miz will also make an appearance here, and they also would try to cause a distraction, but the Mysterios will pull through this time, getting the victory over the Hurt Business, unlike what happened last week. And then we'll beat up both of them and chase them off. Then we got an Edge promo. The big thing here is that Edge got new music. It's the same person who always seen Edge's You Think You Know Me interesting, but it's some new music by that same person. But it do still come on like You Think You Know Me, but instead of the woman's voice saying You Think You Know Me, it's actually Edge the time saying You Think You Know Me, but you don't. And then his new music come on, and I'm like, okay, I'm digging it. I'm actually feeling his new music. I think this is the first time since I think this is the first time since Edge. Cause I think this will be his third entrance. His third, because he had his first one had used You Think You Know Me, but it had a different music, and then he still had the You Think You Know Me part, but then it was another different music. Now he did it again he's saying You Think You Know Me, and he got a whole new music. So it was like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, he cut a promo just basically saying that this whole new change was because had he fought AJ at WrestleMania as the Edge that came back, he would have that Edge would have got left in the dust by AJ Styles, and that he basically said that Edge is gone because that Edge was the Edge who allowed Randy Orton to tear his tricep from the bone, allow Roman Reigns, who can't lace up his boots, to stack pin him at WrestleMania, and allow Seth Rollins to cause him the Universal Championship. So he said this new Edge is the better and more improved Edge, and it could get the job done, and that he will get the job done against AJ Styles at WrestleMania. Moving on, we got the fifth match, which was Bianca Belair versus Doudrop. And even though we've seen this match pretty much time, it's always cool to see Bianca and Doudrop because they got so great chemistry. So I let it pass on the fact that this is maybe like the fourth or fifth time we've seen them, but it still was a good match. But the biggest thing here was after the match, which Bianca Belair won, Becky Lynch returned and beat her up and did one of those segments where one of those things where the heel puts the baby face in the chair and they slammed the chair into. So I would just basically what Baron Corbin just did to Drew McIntyre, except Becky Lynch made her run into the ring post. Then they had to take her up to the hospital. There was the Arcade Bro. We got the Arcade Bro promo, basically where they celebrated, cut some jokes, and then the Street Profits came out and challenged Arcade Bro to a match at WrestleMania, which at first Randy Orton rejected, but due to some talking with Riddle, he eventually agreed. And the Street Profits was channeling the inner bad guy. Like I said, you felt it throughout the night. Everybody channeling their inner bad guys. And even I forgot to mention, even when Kevin Owens when he started the show off, he even started the show by saying, "Hey, yo." But yeah. So this would get into a little heated discussion where the next match actually broke up because Montez Ford saying something about their celebration is stinking. So Matt Riddle would get into Montez Ford's face, and this will be the next match because Matt challenged Montez Ford to a match. So the next match ended up being Montez Ford versus Matt Riddle, which was a good match. It was a good match in itself, but the match ended in a DQ because Alpha Academy, who do not want to be forgotten, came out and basically attacked Riddle, causing the DQ. So Riddle still won the match, but he won it via DQ, and Alpha Academy just basically laid everybody out. Oh man, I think I got to sneeze. I'm good. Okay. So moving on. Watch it come out later. Moving on to the main event, which is the Kevin Owens match. This was a good match. I ain't gonna lie. This was probably like the best match of the night. In terms of the fact that I think out of any match that was on tonight, this had the longest of the time, and it had the biggest on the line. It had something on the line. The winner would host Stone Cold at WrestleMania. You could see, like, at first they arguing, telling us, why would you do? Kevin Owens saying, why would you do this? And Seth Rollins saying, I need this. I need to be at WrestleMania. But then the fight really got down, and they really put on the show. And it was good. This was a good match. They went back and forth. They had great spots from outside, some great outside of the ring work, some inside the ring work. It was a good match. And it would end up being a stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens is your winner and still going to WrestleMania to host Stone Cold Steve Austin, leaving Seth Rollins without a path to WrestleMania. Overall, this episode of Monday Night Raw gets a 7 out of 10 big ups because it wasn't the most entertaining Raw, but it did have some it did have the better, unlike SmackDown, it had at least a little bit more better entertainment. I mean, everybody tried to put on a good show to honor Razor Ramon. You could feel it. Even when Corey Graves and them cut a promo about they did. I forgot to mention that. I think it was before. It was after Arcade? Was it after the Arcade Bro promo? It was either after the Arcade Bro promo or after Bianca Belair's match. One of them, they cut like a little promo and they had like a little segment honoring Razor Ramon, but you saw the hurt in both Corey Graves and Byron Saxton, and I forget the other commentator guy's name, but yeah, it was a night where they challenge like in a bad guy, honor Razor, Scott Hall, and celebrate his life and career. And with that, like I said, if you enjoyed this video, then you hit that button right there in the upper right corner for all of my wrestling reviews. And if you enjoyed this video so much you want to support the channel and channel your inner bad guy, then all you gotta do is hit that like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification button. And do all those great things because it lets me know that you want to see more content like this. And yeah, you want to see more content like this, and it helps me overall be more of a bad guy. And as always, hit any one of these videos for more of my amazing content. I wish I had a toothpick, but instead I'm gonna do this. It's a paper clip. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, it's a paper clip. So I'm gonna do this. Hey, yo, peace out.